Spring is here, summer's coming. That warmer weather means it's time for some outdoor cooking. Hello and welcome to another episode of All American Cooking. I'm your host, Michael Allen. And today, it's all about the baby back ribs. It's going to be absolutely epic. We're going to dry brine our ribs, hit them with a no-salt rub. We're going to smoke them on the Weber Kettle using the Slow N Sear, the 3-2-1 smoking method. All of this is explained in the video, but before we get into it, hey, if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell, lets you know when new videos are uploaded, and it really helps support this channel. Costs you nothing. If you like the video, hit like, leave me a comment down below. Let's get into some beautiful smoked baby back ribs. We begin with some ribs. Here we have a beautiful rack of baby back ribs, locally sourced from my market here in town. We've got some prepping that we have to do before we can get anything ready for these. So let's take a look here. We flip it over, you see this membrane. This is called the silver skin. That has got to come off. So first thing you want to do is get yourself a nice sharp paring knife. You can feel the bone at either end. So what we want to do is we want to get in underneath the silver skin, in between the skin and the bone. So with your sharp paring knife, you can see where it's at right there. You're just going to kind of wiggle the knife underneath and work your way through until you peel that bit of skin away. So once you've peeled a section of it away, you want to grab a paper towel so that you can get a good grip on this and just pull it as tight as you can. Hopefully it all comes off in one shot. Now, we didn't get so lucky this time. Sometimes it doesn't come off in one shot. No problem. We can do this. Just grab whatever's left, give it a nice pull, and you see it comes off beautifully. Dry brining begins with kosher salt, and really that's all there is to it. Now you'll notice I've got my ribs meat side up on a rack on a sheet tray, and all we're going to do is liberally coat these guys with kosher salt. Then we're going to put them in the fridge overnight, uncovered. That salt is going to penetrate the meat, it's going to lock in moisture and bring a lot of flavor. And when you check in the morning, you'll see the salt still remains on the fat. Don't worry about that. All of the salt will have disappeared into the meat overnight. And after 12 hours uncovered in the fridge, take a look at what we've got. Now, as I mentioned, that salt does not penetrate the fat. Don't worry about that, but you see that meat slightly engorged, more red in color. That salt has penetrated beautifully. That's going to make all the difference in the world, both in flavor and in moisture. And it's time to fire up our grill. I've got the Slow N Sear in my Weber Kettle 22-inch. I'm using B&B lump charcoal. I'm not sponsored. You can use whatever brand you use, but make sure it's lump charcoal. It works best. And I've also got some apple wood chunks here. So we've loaded it up, and let's get this thing lit. So with the Slow N Sear, you just want to light one side, and it will gradually burn across. You can see that there's a water reservoir in here. I've filled that up with water. That's going to help regulate the temperature as well as keep some moisture in there. Make sure you also have a drip tray. I just use an aluminum tray underneath the grate. That helps catch all the drippings. Our no salt rub begins with half cup dark brown sugar, half cup of white sugar, a quarter cup of smoked paprika, a quarter cup of chipotle chili powder, and 2 tablespoons each of coarsely ground black pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, ground ginger, and ground rosemary. And let's give it a good whisking. Combine everything well. Our binder begins with a couple of tablespoons of yellow mustard, followed by a couple of tablespoons of Dijon mustard, a splooch of roasted garlic paste, and yes, that's the official measurement terminology, a couple of glugs of Worcestershire sauce, a smidge of apple cider vinegar, And finally, a couple of squirts of avocado oil. And whisk to combine. And when it looks like this, your binder is ready to be brushed on. And now we paint, bone side first. Just give it a nice light coating. After lightly coating the bone side with the rub, we'll give the kids a flip and do the same thing on the other side, but a little heavier. This binder is not only going to help the rub stick, but all of those delicious ingredients are going to add flavor, texture, and help penetrate the meat. Make sure you get the edges. And when you're done, let's add the rub. We're going to give this a good, generous sprinkling, and we're going to rub it in. I definitely recommend using some gloves for this. Our grill is hovering around 275, which is exactly where we want it. So let's lay these kids down, meat side up. And you are definitely not going to hurt anything by dumping the rest of that excess rub onto your ribs once they're on the grill. To help maintain temperature, I've got the vent on top open very slightly. The bottom vent is also open about that much. That's going to help maintain the smoke and the temperature. After 1.5 hours, let's take a look at what we've got here. Oh, this is beautiful. This is beautiful. Now, this is the 3-2-1 method. We're smoking them uncovered for 3 hours, but after an hour and a half, we're going to go ahead and rotate these guys as far as their flame position. So now we cover it up and smoke for another hour and a half. After a total of 3 hours, here's what we've got. Step 2 in the 3-2-1 method. After 3 hours smoking uncovered, we're going to smoke them for 2 hours wrapped in foil. Go ahead and lay your kids meat side down, wrap them up in foil, and back to the smoker they go. Now that my ribs are wrapped nice and tight, you can feel which side is the concave side and which side is the meat side. Again, we are going to go meat side up. Now it's time to tend to our fire. I'm going to move some of these lit coals off to one side. I'm going to add some more lump charcoal and some more wood chunks. I covered it for a minute to keep that flame from getting out of control, but I noticed that the water reservoir was dry, so let's add some water to that kid. Fill it back up all the way. That helps regulate the temperature and keep moisture. And now we cover back up and smoke for 2 hours. Always adjust your vents as necessary. Close it all the way. I'm going to leave it about halfway open now. And after 2 hours of smoking wrapped in foil, you can see the smoke on the foil, the discoloration there. Let's go ahead and open this up, see what we've got inside. Look at this absolute gorgeousness. Absolutely beautiful. The smell is amazing. I'm in my garage, of course, because it is still cold out. I've got proper ventilation going. Do not do this in your garage without proper ventilation. But let's take a look here. I'm going to bring the camera a little bit closer so you can see where the meat is pulling away from the bone. The bone is starting to be exposed. You know these kids are pretty much done at this point. So we've got 1 hour to go. That's mostly for the saucing. I'm going to leave one of these with just the dry rub. The other one is going to get my homemade mambo sauce, which you don't get that recipe just yet. Sorry. You got to wait for summer for that one. Look at, as I'm flipping it over, the meat is just falling off. It's so tender. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to sauce this side. I've got a silicone mop. I definitely recommend a silicone brush and mop because you don't want bristles in your food. Nobody wants to eat that. When you see a piece of meat fall off of there, you have to give it a try. Take a look at that. Absolutely beautiful. Let's give it a little try here, shall we? It is epically delicious. So we're going to flip this back over and we're going to mop the meat side before we tent it with foil and cover the grill again to basically steam and finish smoking these kids for another hour. The last hour of smoking, especially when I'm saucing my ribs, I like to sauce them every 15 minutes or so, and you could see this runny sauce becomes very thick and almost like a glaze as it continues to smoke. So every 15 minutes, I apply another round of sauce, tent it back up, cover it back up, and then after an hour, we'll be eating. And after the final hour has passed, it can't possibly hurt to sauce these kids one more time, can it? Of course not. So let's go ahead and sauce these kids one more time, and then off the grill they come so we can enjoy. And I just want to show you here that it's such a difficult task even trying to pick these things up because they are just falling apart. The bone is exposed. These babies are ready to eat. The entire foil bundle went into an aluminum tray so that I could carry everything. You could see, look at, the bone is just falling right off. Unbelievable. The smell coming off of these kids is amazing. You see, I'm trying to pick them up with the tongs and they're just breaking apart. Look at that gorgeous smoke ring. Absolutely epic. Taking a look at the ones that got the sauce, you can see it's nice and thick like a glaze, just that much more flavor. Again, this is my own homemade sauce. You don't get that recipe just yet. Store-bought sauce will do, or make your own, but look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. All right, so I'll take one of these with no sauce. I mean, just, oh my God. Look at it. It is just falling apart. All right. Going in for the bite right here, right there. Right, look at how juicy. Ah. The dry brine, this no salt rub. I mean, that's just unbelievable. The 3-2-1 method is the way you want to do your ribs. Dry brine. Sure, there's lots of rubs out there with salt in them, so if you don't do the dry brine, do another rub. But the dry brine with the no salt rub, I'm telling you, that is the way to go. 3 hours smoke, 2 hours wrapped, 1 hour unwrapped with the sauce, or just to let it finish kind of steaming itself in that foil. Unbelievable. Thanks for watching. Don't eat boring food. We'll see you again on All American Cooking. Take care. Just to show you, I tried to pull a rib bone apart, and look at that bone is clean. Completely clean. Are you kidding me? That's barbecue, baby.